Kling just released something recently, and then Runway. Both Kling and Runway just updated their video generation models. I have not had a chance to test them out. I am probably going to test one of them out. One thing I did find that like Kling, for anybody who uses it, and maybe somebody else has had a different experience with it than me, I tried to find their data security and privacy policy on their website, and it is, you got to think that if they were really keeping your data secure and not training their models on it, they'd be a lot more upfront about it. If you take a look at, like, say, Runway has like a whole page, and they're trying to really make sure that you know that they're not going to train their models on your data, and that they have like all these data security certificates. And so if you're doing client work and you're using IP, and you have a choice, Kling might sound cool, but I would watch out for Kling. And again, like if somebody else has found something else on Kling, because I've seen a bunch of things that are popping up. It's like, oh, like Kling is killing, like their new AI video model is amazing, which sounds good. And maybe it's cool if you're doing like your own hobby stuff. I don't know what they say about, I think that they allow you to have rights to the videos that you create. I don't think they are, like limiting your copyright ability of your videos. But if they are, making sure that your data is secure and that your IP is secure and that they're not training their models on it, they're doing a terrible job of letting people know that. So yeah, I think that we're in a pretty good, like right now is a big update on the video models. We had the Nano Banana 2 update. I still haven't had, and this is another one, like I feel like if you go to Google, they'll tell you that you get to use Nano Banana for free. I don't think so. I feel like they shut that down. I think you kind of can use it for free, maybe like once a day or something. But they really want you paying for Nano Banana. But then I see all these other services where they're like, yeah, you use Nano Banana for free for whatever. And it's like, like really for free? So, but if you are an AI content creator, visual content creator, right now is a really good time to like test some things out and see what you can do. That was the other one. I saw this thing recently, and we talked about this before, like how is AI going to affect like security in other ways. So I just saw this post. People are using Nano Banana to create like documents, like an ID or a passport, so that they can pass through, I think it's CPK, whatever it is, to verify your identity, and people are able to just make fake ones on Nano Banana. Now you can't have a physical one that you can bring to the airports or present to anybody, but for a lot of these different platforms, they just want a picture of your ID, and people are using Nano Banana to create fake versions of it, right? And last week I brought this up that people were also using Nano Banana. It's such a weird name. I have to keep on saying it all the time. They were editing the images of their food delivery to get refunds from Uber Eats and DoorDash by like sending them pictures of like, oh, the hamburger was raw on the inside, or this was a mess, and they're just like taking a picture of their food and then having Nano Banana edit it and then sending it back. So what does that mean? A lot of those companies are probably going to need to have some sort of way of identifying the AI was used to generate the images. And so that's probably going to start happening if this becomes more widespread. Although, you see these stories and it's like, yeah, people are, I guess depending on how often they're doing it, right? So very few people in the world even know what a Nano Banana is, right? Or have used it. To us, it seems like it's a big deal and that people are using it. But then I think if you went out and you sampled, say in America, we have 330 million people. How many people have used Nano Banana? I would say like maybe a few million people, right? With like less than 1%. Maybe it's as high as 10%, I think at the most, but like I can't imagine that many people actually use it. But so it's not like this big widespread problem. you look at all the other issues in the world, this is kind of like when we had, I guess we still have it, like Napster, for those of you who are old enough for Napster, where we were getting music for free, right? And they would say that it was like actually better because like then people would discover new music and then they would buy it. That actually Napster and LimeWire and services like that were actually good for the music industry. I don't know if they're gonna go that far with this one, where people faking their AI food is gonna actually be good for that industry. But on the other hand, I don't know if it's as widespread enough that these companies will now need to make an adjustment. But once it proliferates more, right, where Nano Banana is a little bit more similar to how people use YouTube or something like that, or Facebook or Instagram, then things are going to have to change. If people are able to fake images at this level, then the world is going to have to shift. And people are already talking about that, with like the fake videos that are online. Although I got to say, like a lot of times, I feel like I can tell when a video is fake. The ones that did fool me was when they were like door cams that were, they were like the black and white, they were the night goggle, or like the night vision, and then like animals would come and like show up to the door and do stuff. When they first showed it, it was like, oh, okay, like that's somewhat believable. But then once it got a little bit crazier, it's like, oh, those are all being faked. Got you. But yeah, like when you see like the Pet Olympics, it's like, no, they're pretty sure there's not really a Pet Olympics. You never know. I saw one for like, now there's a housekeeper, or not now, there's a housekeeping Olympics. I'm pretty sure that was actually real. Okay, housekeeping Olympics, Nano Banana, creating your own fake documents for CPK checking. Probably saying that wrong. We're covering everything here. Okay, we have some new people on the call. For sure, some new people. Wow. Okay, Chris Smith, I feel like is new. Let me see. Keith has been here already this week. Kimberly James, Robin Brown, Russell, hello again. Sanjay, it's tough because we get a lot of Sanjays in here. So I don't know if you're the Sanjay that we've had before, one of the 4 or 5 Sanjays we've had before. Scott Kane, I feel like is new. Dean, I feel like I've seen you before, but then I can't tell. It's tough when it's just avatars, and whether or not people are new. And then Greg Watson, I think, yeah, Scott Kane is new. Greg Watson, you're either new or new-ish, I feel like. Okay, let's start at the top. Start running our way down. Chris Smith, if you want to hop on the mic or drop something in chat, introduce yourself. What inspired you to come to join AI Profit Boardroom, or to join the coaching calls? Microsoft has Nano Banana. Banana. All right, Dean. Dean, are you new, or did I just forget you? Traveling. Okay, Chris, no problem. Okay, yeah, and if anybody can't, if you want, just throw something in the chat just to introduce yourself real quick. If you can't get on the mic, that's fine. Dean, you're up next. Okay. Greg Watson was on the Monday call. No problem, Chris. Hello, just want to catch up in AI. Robin Brown. Okay. See you turn on your mic. Hi, Dean. Your mic's on, but then your voice doesn't.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Just briefly, because my wife is going to be also, she's got a meeting right now. Yeah. I've joined a few times, usually later on. I've kind of missed the beginnings. So you saw my name a couple of times. Gotcha. I think so. I've just been catching up. Yeah. I've liked Julian's and sharing about AI and all that sort of thing. I thought it would be good to join up and sort of get to know even more.
Is there any type of AI that you're specifically interested in, or any like workflows or tasks?
I quite like creating apps. I must admit, I do quite like that. I use Perplexity, and I've got I use Labs. That sort of thing. That's quite useful. I have used ChatGPT. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I've been trying to learn a little bit about the N8N. I struggle somewhat for some reason. It's just, I mean, when you do it, it doesn't seem complicated. But then when I try to do it, it just takes a little while, I think, for the brain to work in a particular way. I can do lots of things. I've been doing things over the years. Some things I've made some money with, some I haven't. It would be nice to have a consistent one. I'm on a few school platforms, and it's all about internet marketing, affiliate marketing. But I do, like I said, I do particularly like creating some apps
Cool.
that can be functional, helpful, useful, that sort of thing. I was trying to do one earlier, actually. It was about finding information about the various trying to look at these who's who within a certain group. So you go to one location, you find that location, and you get all the information about the different businesses and such that have a certain, that within a certain size, all the rest of it. And I thought it's quite interesting. The app could come up with certain something, but it would then it said, oh, it would cost you like £400 or £500 to complete this app, to find this information that I wanted to find. I thought, that's interesting. And I could see why it was going to do that, because it was leading me on to Arifs and other places where you'd have to link your API to, and it would cost money, etc.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, that's new, that's different, because normally it does it for free, and I could just sort it out. And I was just wondering, I suppose I could ask yourself, is there a way using 8N8 or some other way to actually generate this without having to spend all that money, like Arifs and other platforms that obviously have got they spend money on it to generate that information?
So possibly, I don't know about like this specific API, but for sure, I mean, like some of the APIs out there cost money, right? And I know that from working on projects in like the financial sector, right? Like if you want market data, like crypto market data or stock market data, there are different options out there. And for some of them, they will charge you a pretty good amount of money, right? And then some of them are free. And so it just depends on, are you willing to make certain concessions or set up multiple APIs or do whatever? And then also, like, how are they getting their data? Can you figure out a way to go to that source and then do whatever you need to do to make it happen? So I would say maybe sometimes some of this data is, proprietary and difficult to get. But then I have definitely also seen where people are charging a little too much for their API service, and there is a more free version, or again, a version that is maybe 90% as good but free. And it's like, well, is that 10% something that really matters? And you have to figure that out. Yeah, I mean, it depends on these. I like try not to pay that much for any of my APIs. And one of the things, if you are on Perplexity, I will ask Perplexity, because Perplexity is probably the best one to be asking questions like that too. Or even, I've been trying a little bit more often to ask questions to Gemini when they're more up to date and topical. Although I'm not getting anything better out of Gemini than I do out of Claude or ChatGPT, I feel like. But you can start asking the LLMs, like, hey, it says it costs this much. Is there any way to get this cheaper? Like, are there any other, services out there? And sometimes what will happen is it'll say yes, and then you try it, and it's like, oh, you mean no. Because they're not, kind of what you said with ChatGPT. It's like sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And that's really AI for us right now. If you are doing app development, I got a few different things. One, when I develop applications, I like to use Claude over all the other ones. I think that, and sometimes maybe what you want to do is use a little bit of both, like possibly get a bunch of information through Perplexity because of its superior search ability. But then the actual coding, if anybody else feels differently or found it differently, and again, like it does really matter like what makes you comfortable, but I have found that Claude is superior when it comes to coding. And then in the next week or two, I'm going to do a coaching call on GitHub Copilot. I know Aaron likes to use that. I have been dabbling with it a little bit so far, but I want to kind of work with it a little bit more before I show it off to people and see if it's really beneficial to use that. Now, GitHub Copilot, well, I guess it's all of them. Like, it has a freemium subscription, right? So you can use GitHub Copilot to start for free. And then if you want to use it extensively, that they're going to charge you. But the rates don't seem like they're that bad. And if it's going to help you that much, it's like, yeah, I mean, this is worth it. If it's going to do 100 hours of coding for you, the price that they're charging is not that big of a deal. And then, and then also Tuesdays and now I think Fridays are going to be a little bit more about vibe coding and using LLMs to help put together apps. And so if you're specifically interested, the Tuesdays and Fridays are going to be good for that. But I guess good to have you back and to finally get to talk to you a bit. Thank you for showing up. And then what did I see in here about Greg Watson?
Thank you.
Yeah, one of the original members got an email invite yesterday to join today's call. Okay, great, Greg. You're right, Greg, you can hop on the mic or just throw something in chat, whatever's easiest for you. Even if you are one of the original members, what inspired you to join AI Profit Boardroom? And are there specific AI tools that you're interested in learning about? Usually, again, like I try to take some of this input as feedback and work them into the coaching calls. Even on Tuesday, we did a little bit where I showed people how to set up a local instance of an LLM, and that was based on somebody asking for that. And then Georgetta, good to see you again. Well, it had been a while, but it seems like you're back now. Kimberly James, are you new? Going one.
Yes, brand new.
Kimberly, what inspired you to join AI Profit Boardroom in the coaching calls, and what kind of AI tools are you specifically interested in or workflow?
Why did I join? I received an email this morning, and it was one of those fear of missing out. I'm like, okay, I'm jumping in now. So I've been in the AI space for a couple of years. I've been teaching with another community, but I'm interested in learning more about workflows. So I'm pivoting my business. I want to do more consulting for organizations. So I need to, step up my game.
Yeah,
So.
We get a few different folks on here who do consulting. I feel like that comes through a bunch. And it is, they say that AI is going to reduce the number of jobs. I'll tell you, the AI consultancy job world is going to just increase. And so I don't know how much you've done in the AI consult. It is interesting because, if you get on one of our calls, we're just talking about N8N and Nano Banana and all the different AI platforms like Claude or Perplexity. Then you go in to consult with a company and you're like, wow, you guys have no idea what comes. A lot of these people are just like, yeah, we know ChatGPT. It's like, okay, that's a start. And I do feel like ChatGPT is the #1 driver for making people AI curious, where it does have that big name brand, and a lot of companies, they say, well, ChatGPT can do this. We would like it, but maybe better or something like that. And, but, a lot of these companies really don't understand AI even fundamentally. And what I have found is that you do have to strike a really good balance between listening to them and doing what they want, and not listening to them and not doing what they want, and really doing what they need. Because too often they will just come up with some seemingly almost randomish idea of what they want AI for. And it's like, okay, but is that really the best idea? Should you spend thousands and tens of thousands and maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars on me and my team and upskilling your team for something that you're never really, not that you're never going to use, that you're use for an hour a week, right? I think that too often companies get interested in projects just because they're like, oh, AI could do this. And it's like, well, should AI do this? But awesome, great to have you aboard. And I do think that I feel like, at least for me, even coming to the coaching calls, just get you exposed to all these different AI models and tools, and keeps you around people who are interested in AI, which just gives you that little bit of edge where, again, for a lot of these companies that you're going to be talking to, they're like, yeah, I know ChatGPT. What else? And by being able to come in there and know all these other tools, it can really just separate you.
Yeah, I'm excited. Glad to be here.
Perfect. And what was this question? When you said Claude, is it Sonnet or Opus? At present, I don't have access to Opus. So Sonnet 4.5 is really, really good. They just came out with Opus, whatever the newest Opus is. I have access to Opus, I can't even get it to run most of the time. I think that I don't know what happened with their newest. Maybe it's me, although I have like a max plan. I don't have the max plan, but I have a max plan. And every time I try to have Opus run, it doesn't do anything for me. And it'll just like crap out or take too long. But the new Opus was just released a week ago or 2 weeks ago. So I think that they're having trouble with their rollout. Sonnet 4.5 is great though. I feel like if you try Sonnet 4.5, you will enjoy using it, or you'll get better coding results than you would with GPT or Perplexity. And then they have this new feature, and I don't know if it's for every tier, but what it is doing is it will it like condenses your conversation. So in ChatGPT, if you are in one chat long enough, you will notice that it gets slower and stupider as it goes. It's just going to start to like gradually get slower and slower and stupider. That's because the context window is getting too big. I don't know if it used to do that. I know that their context windows got bigger. And again, I don't really work with GPT anymore on longer conversations like that. But typically I would just watch and it would get slower and dumber, and I would just switch chats. And on Claude, what it would do is it would just tell you you're at the max. It should be like, yeah, you've maxed out. Start a new conversation, start a new chat, because this one, you've hit the context window. Now what it does, especially, or I know in 4.5, you'll see all of a sudden it'll just start condensing the conversation, and then it'll allow you to continue the chat. However, when it does that, I do think part of the condensation process, which makes sense, is it does forget things. But you can still have that straight line of a chat with it. But I have noticed that like part of it condensing the data is that you do have to start reminding it of different aspects of the chat that you've had with it before. But yes, Sonnet is great. Okay, Greg works with small businesses to enhance employee productivity. Amazing. AI allows us to work faster, better, smarter. That's great. So I'm always looking for help, tips, as tools keep changing and evolving every few months. I really help empower both employees as well as provide the workplace framework to document who controls, updates, and implements AI solutions. It's not often not an IT function anymore. That is great, Greg. And so then Greg also brought something up here that I think is important for anybody who is, Kimberly said that she's looking to get into consulting. And it's like this part that I think that people want to, ignore it first, or they just want to see the cool AI stuff way too often. It's like, yeah, but like, just show me AI doing something cool. And I think that is part of that sort of early adopter, shiny object syndrome, all these different things that we discuss happen here, where if they're interested in AI, they love the awe-inspiring, magical part of AI, right? And so they want to see that magic. But, what Greg is mentioning here, the frameworks to document who controls, updates, and implements AI solutions. Then also I would say tracks AI solutions, right? And that's sort of the boring part, or the wah part. And it's like, so somebody has to be responsible for this, or, what? The AI is just not going to do everything for us. Like we have to actually pay attention now. And, one of the things that I think is important is, measuring KPIs before and after you implement an AI solution, right? And really, it's and a lot of it can be that before, and understanding is like, okay, like before, again, like I was saying earlier, that before we even spend all this money figuring out whether or not you should be worrying about this, what are your KPIs, and then what are your expected KPIs, and what is the delta there, and is the delta worth it, right? And then beyond that, who is responsible for the work that the AI does? And a lot of times it's like, well, the AI is. Like, so when that goes wrong, who are you going to blame? Like, you can't blame an AI model. Like, and so there does need to be a chain of responsibility where it's like, sure, the AI did this work for you. Who is the human who's going to be in there to verify the AI's work? And then who is going to be in charge of, as he's saying, like controlling it or updating it, or even understanding when it needs to be updated? And these are more, again, of the unfun, questions that you need to ask of a company. But then also, all these things I just said are important for you as a developer and builder yourself, right? You at times are your own client. And if you're not doing these same things, right, where, you know, doing even if it's not this big intensive measurement of your KPIs, like a general concept, right? It's like, oh, this takes me this amount of time. This takes me that amount of time. I can make this much money if we do this. I can make this much money if I do that. And it is because, as all of us are absolutely guilty of, it is the shiny object syndrome, right? Where it's just like, oh, this looks cool. Here, let me start spending time on this. You know, it's like, well, why? Are you sure? And of course, if you're like me, I just love working in AI. And so if there's a new model out, I want to mess around with it and see what it's capable of. But as I've said, you got to be on the 80, 90% to 10 to 20% rule, where it's like 80 to 90% of the time, you need to be working on projects that you know are going to increase measurable KPIs for you and provide value for you. And then the other 10 to 20% of the time, yeah, like you can mess around and see Nano Banana take apart a ventriloquist dummy and see all the parts come out of it and be like, oh, okay, that's a cool thing. All right, dope. But it's like, yeah, I don't really work with any ventriloquists. So what does it matter if it can disassemble a ventriloquist dummy between one image and the next, right? I'm just using that as a random example. Okay. We got to Kimberly. Robin Brown, are you new? Do you want to hop on the mic? Do you want to drop something in chat? I'm trying to see. Oh, okay. Hello. Just want to catch up in AI. Okay. That's all you want to throw out there. If there's anything in the chat, Robin, that you want to throw in there about any specific aspects of AI that you're interested in, let me know. And I can probably drop them in here. And then Sanjay, again, Sanjay, you probably have one of the most common names on the coaching calls. Are you a new Sanjay, or are you one of the previous Sanjays that we've had? A repeat Sanjay, one who's working probably and can't respond. Okay, we have gotten through basically everything. We talked to Scott Kane for a little bit. All right, great to have all the new people. And again, so today is N8N day. We have been working on a N8N workflow for the past few weeks, piece by piece. And then today might be the end of it, I would say, but I'm going to review it and go over some basic pieces for everybody, just so you know what we're doing and where we're at. And then let me make sure to bring up everything before I share screen. Let's see. Okay, and then I have the workflow. Cool. All right, and then I will share. Okay, I have been recording. Great. Awesome. Worried I wasn't doing that. Share screen, entire screen, share. Boom. Okay. So here's our workflow. As you'll see, I actually have disconnected these different places. And this is something I do suggest that you do, that when we first built this workflow, I think I had it build out this first part initially, and then we added this to it afterwards. And part of the reason why we do that is as I have, there's a critical update that's available. I'm not going to update just this moment, but we'll look at updating. You can now, we'll go over this prompt to workflow. You can prompt these to generate an entire workflow for you. And I could have, I mean, at some point I did prompt it to generate this entire workflow. Just because, and then the same thing like finding templates online, whatever it is. These workflows get confusing and complicated. And as was already discussed, it's like, you know what? For some reason, it just doesn't work, right? And having all the pieces all together at once can be tough. And if you were to build this as a solution, right? If you were to vibe code this out instead of using N8N, you really wouldn't put together the whole thing all at once. Nobody, like, and now people probably do that way more than they used to because of AI, right? But previously, people would build things one piece at a time, and that gave you the ability to troubleshoot and to isolate where your issues are. And I mean, the good thing about this is that it does have a flow, right? Where, you know, you do need to get the first part right, and then the next part right, and then the next part right. But I do think it can sometimes get overwhelming if you have this whole thing here. And the same thing that, like, if you ask prompts to workflow to generate you an entire workflow, it has more of a chance of getting things wrong than if you ask it to generate simpler workflows, get those to be right, and then connect them together. Okay, and so as you can see, probably if you're checking out this, the different aspects of this workflow, we have this portion, which is generating a script. Then this portion, which is generating audio from that script, a voice. And then we have this portion, which is supposed to generate a HeyGen video. And then if you're in the last coaching call for this HeyGen node here, or just the HeyGen subscription, was so problematic before that I started to look into open source HeyGen models instead of having to, or open source AI avatar creation models. So for those of you who aren't familiar with HeyGen, that's what it does. It's an AI avatar creation system, and that is most likely what we're going to be working on Friday. So if you're interested in AI avatars, this is, you know, a good couple of days to be involved with the coaching calls. And then if you're not, you know, one of the, you know, no matter what, you're getting some N8N experience or guidance, and then some vibe coding, you know, working with GitHub repository time. Okay, and then this also has SSML in it. So again, we have enough new people on here that I might as well explain a little bit of what SSML is. Although I've probably explained this 10 different times on the coaching calls, but 11 is going to be the one where I really nail it. SSML is it's a way of meta tagging your scripts so that when you send them to a process like 11 Labs or HeyGen even, it will make the dialogue sound more natural. And what it does is it puts in pausing in the right place, and it puts emphasis on certain vowels or words, and then I think it'll understand phonetic spelling. And so what this will do is, I think that, like, if you see, like, one of the #1 issues or ways that you can tell that AI is fake really is not necessarily how the voice sounds, you know, per word, as much as not the frequency, but like basically the pattern of the way the words are said. Let me see. Did somebody just drop something in the chat? Cadence. Perfect. Thank you, Scott. The cadence of the words. And SSML will fix that cadence. Maybe not 100%, but it will do enough where it makes it so that the things that are telltale signs that you're using AI are not as present. So then that will make it so that people are much less likely to think that you are using AI. So, but putting in SSML into your own scripts is tedious. So that's why we have AI, right? So this script generator is generating scripts with SSML tags in it so that it will sound more natural. And then if you were here for our Tuesday call, I was doing the same thing where we were using SSML for 11 Labs and having it generate voice, and that was for a voice agent where you could speak to it and it would speak back to you. The system I put together had an incredible amount of latency in it. You wouldn't be able to use it as like an actual, say, on the phone voice agent. But part of it was also that it was generating, I feel like, 500 words at once. And so it just had an extremely long response to you. And so it just took a very long time to put that all together. But the general concept could be used. All right. And then, you know, if you're in, ooh, I don't want that. Okay, there we go. If you're in N8N, I think, I mean, I don't know, because I am on a paid subscription program. I get to do builds to AI. I think that probably if you're on the free plan, you don't get prompt to workflow. So, you know, that is a difference. But the paid version is $28 a month, I think. And if you are going to be using N8N, it is probably worth it. Like the first couple hours that it saves you in developing things in N8N makes it worth it, right? Maybe even less for some of you. And then essentially you'll know that, here, let me just save this really quick and go to overview. You will know that you have this functionality because when you start a new workflow, you have build with AI over here, right? If you don't have that, then you need to update. I'll do a quick update. Oh, okay. And then my monthly credits refilled. I should probably be using this way more. I should just start burning credits. The first month I was burning credits, but we got a new month all ready to go. So I got fresh credits to burn. If you don't see this on your version of N8N, you can go to your admin panel and you can go to, I think it's manage, and then that's all right, starter monthly. Right here, you would want to change this to the latest. You can just do latest stable, and then save changes and it'll update. I'm not going to do that now because it will take like 5 minutes for it to restart, and I don't feel like doing that. But I should do it probably at some point. Supposedly this is a critical update, but for our purposes, I can just show off what we're doing. Okay, and then here we go. So then, boom, we have our manual trigger. We have this Excel file. The Excel file really only has right now one concept, so it's going to read in that concept and create a script from it. I think we changed this. Yeah, so initially we had it so it's doing an entire script. You can change basically these parameters here from, right now I'm having it create a roughly 15-second long script, 20 to 30 words. And the reason why we're doing that is because we're doing all this testing and it's just taking a while. Like really right now, and again, for your tests, a lot of times just pare it down to the simplest thing possible. So that, and then what am I on? So that it will go faster and you can do what you want. And then one of the good things about build to workflow is that if you have credentials in here, it will like automatically connect your credentials. But then you can see in here, it asks it to put in the SSML tags, right? And then it understands what to do. And then I am on GPT-4o Mini. You know, for simple projects like this, I do suggest you get on Mini. At least try it out, and then you can try out the different AI models. And if you are, there might be a difference in the response that you're getting, but if the difference is not that big of a deal, the cost difference between Mini and regular 4.0 or 5.0 is, or 5.1 is pretty big. And if you're pushing enough content through here, you will notice that difference over time. All right. So we'll just start with, oh, here, let me just do execute workflow. And this part will work. Hopefully. All right. And so then, as you see, tested this out and it gave us this script. And the script is about, in a meta way, it is talking about generating AI avatars with 11 Labs and HeyGen. So the script is describing the process that we're doing right now. And so then now I'll connect it to this. And then this is going to generate our voice for us. Boom. So then this is using 11 Labs. Let me get in here. It's doing speech to text. And this is my API key. Let's not look at that too much. And then this is the different model of voice settings, similarity, and I think here is where you actually put in the person. Oh, here, let's just check this out really quick. So there's a way of me making it so you guys can hear that. I could download it and share it with you. I will tell you that, like, so it did just give me a voice from the script, and I would say, like, it really gets pretty close. And I think for a lot of users, they would have trouble distinguishing that between a human. Now, here is the moment of truth. We're going to connect it all up. This node has been giving us a lot of trouble. And as I said, this node right here inspired me to start looking for open source solutions for this. And also was so problematic that I actually had to vibe code out a solution over here to see what is going on. But I was able to get this to work. And part of how this worked was we ran a diagnostic to figure this out and found that anybody else, if you're on HeyGen, you know, it will tell you that you can use all these different AI models or like all these different avatars, and they have these avatar IDs. As it turns out, there are only a few, I don't know, a limited number of avatar IDs that you're actually allowed to use. And this is one of them. And you will know typically because like the other ones look more like just, well, this one is just like very, it's like Mito Pro in suit and then has this number at the end. That's the typical sort of AI avatar ID of the ones that you can use. If they don't have that format to them, then it is probably not going to work. I think maybe this was one of the old ones or something like that. No, that's just a voice ID. And so that is how you know how this is going. Now, I have since then put that in here. Where is he? HeyGen. Boom, right? So I have down here, we have this guy. And so theoretically, it should work. Moment of truth where it absolutely fails. And if we get a failure, again, since I have we'll have the builds to see if it can help us. We'll see. And that was actually a positive that we made it this far. What could happen here is this does typically take some time, and that's why you have these wait nodes. For a lot of different media creation, you do need to have a wait node for that. Typically, anything video will end up, oh my goodness. Okay. Let's see. Check the video status. Oh, resolution not allowed. Great. Well, that's a start. Let me see here. What resolution are we trying to do? Again, like the resolution is probably terrible that I'm allowed to use. Yeah, it won't let me do. Okay, let's get into HeyGen really quick. This is why I need. Now, one thing I would suggest is for a lot of these video generators or image generators, look at all these. Oh, this is, I think, the one that actually worked last week. Look, error. It does not, has all these issues. For image generation or video generation, a really good solution can be, if you're using the image gen APIs, a lot of times those will give you pretty high quality images and you don't have to worry. For the video generation ones, they can take a long time and they can be sort of problematic. One solution that you can use is to have it generate a lower resolution video or image and then do an up resolution with AI. And there are a bunch of different solutions to increase the resolution of an image or video. And a lot of times they are actually using these solutions internally because video generation is just a very, very computationally expensive process. And so instead you would do something where you do it lower level and then you can just up resolve it later. This is going to take me a little too long. Let me just ask a question here. What resolutions starter HeyGen? Then we'll change this number out. Probably still run into issues. 1280 by 720. Just can't tell if that's an actual resolution. Probably something like, ooh, yeah. Yeah, 720p resolution limit. 1280 by 720. Okay. And I think that this is theoretically an HD resolution, theoretically, but yeah, not the good one. All right. Let's try again. And again, this is why I have it doing a shorter script so that we can not have to wait so long for everything. And potentially what you'll have to do is play around with that wait for video processing so that it's waiting long enough. I could see that being an issue when it goes to check video status, is that we're not waiting long enough for it to process. And I should get an email also if it does process it. I forget if the email comes before or after. All right, let's see what we got. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Looks like it was created. Let's see. Is it going to show up on here? Well, what do you know? He's working on it. So it was created. I wonder if it's still creating, which would mean that I should probably, if I was going to update this automation, let me see, because I don't feel like that's loading. I feel like it's still creating, which means this is a pretty slow process. And so that's, again, theoretically would need to build that into what's going on here. Press play. No. So it is, let's see. It is probably going to take too long for it to create this for us to see. Well, we might get right up into it, but that's where we're at for now. And then let me take a look just really quickly. So callback idea, no. Caption URL, no. So it's been created. It has an ID. Right, and so it has not been able to capture the video URL, right? And so this I would want to make this longer. It's only waiting 30 seconds, which is a decent amount. And then you have, so you really need to put a pause in here, I think. I don't know how much the duration of the video and the script matter for this, but I'll probably send another one through here later today, just so that tomorrow I have something to show that is the actual duration. Now that I know that the whole thing works, essentially, I can get a better estimate of what that is. But like, this is incredibly slow. Oh, and then here he is, right? I can't even hear this guy now. They called it HeyGen instead of HeyGen. Okay, well, so that's what it looks like. Again, I can probably, I wonder if I can share that with you. I think what I'll do is I'll put some of this stuff together and create links to share with everyone tomorrow. But the voice sounds pretty natural. The HeyGen part is not great. But then that's something where it's like it should probably have spelled it more phonetically. The avatar itself, I think, is the most obvious that it is not real beyond the voice. And then I think also part of the problem is that, and you'll see this tomorrow when I drop the video here. I'll download it. Maybe we can might actually be able to share this today. Yeah, it didn't take too long. All right, let me, final notice, good for your retail. Let's do new file upload. This is me. I have a beagle dog. I've been generating beagle dog images. Beagles living in everyday life. Okay, let's get this share. Okay, so if you want to check it out, here is the actual AI avatar that we created. And so you'll see that one of the things you probably want to get lined up is, I think that I don't know what part of our brain understands this, but that guy does not look like he has that voice. I don't know exactly how that happens or why, but like, he just does not seem like he has that voice. So I'd probably want to change the voice if I was going to use that as an avatar. We are probably going to try a different avatar tomorrow in the open source version. And then it sounds natural. The one thing that I think pings it is when he says HeyGen. And it's like, well, it's not HeyGen, it's HeyGen. And so that would be something I would want to try to adjust either in my prompting, or it's just something that like I would have to manually adjust and then possibly figure out a way to put in that error handling. Any questions on what we did today, or HeyGen, or 11 Labs, or N8N? And again, tomorrow we have our open source image or open source script generator. I wonder, is there here really quickly? I'll stop sharing. Maybe we'll do this tomorrow. Open source. Let me ask. Is there an open source solution similar to 11? So we already did the LLM open source. We use Mistral. And then I've got the open source AI avatar system. Yes. Chatterbox. 0.8% of listeners prefer Chatterbox over 11 Labs. That's not great. Okay. Oh, Fish Audio. Let's see. That's really good for dialogue. Because I mean, like, people talk like a script dialogue. Fish Audio. Fish Audio. Fish Audio. This is an open source. Okay. Fish Speech. Let's see. Ooh, 24,000 stars. Text to speech models. Okay. So we might mess around with, I guess it's called Open Audio now. Fish probably wasn't great for branding. And we're going to work with an open source HeyGen solution. I'd love to know if anyone has used Smith OS, promoted as an operating system for AI to connect different AI. I have not personally used Smith OS. If anybody else has, let Scott know. And then, okay, I will see everyone tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day or evening, and we will be working with open source solutions tomorrow. Later.